sukhaduḥkhe janmamṛtyū daivādeveti niścayī sādhyādarśī nirāyāsaḥ kurvannapi lipyate. Chintaya jayate dukkham nānyata iheti niścayī taya hina sukhi shanta sarvatra galita spura.
He who has understood with certitude that happiness and sorrow, birth and death are all due to the effects of past actions, does no more seek after the ordinary goals of life. He becomes free from care. He is not attached. He is not tainted, even though engaged in action. This is in continuation of previous verse, in which we learnt that most of our fortune or misfortune is due to our past action. In this birth, even all the happiness and sorrow, and even birth and death are all thought to be determined by our past actions. If one understands this clearly, then even as a family man or a householder, male or female, even if one has to pursue actions as required from him or her, having understood that everything is due to past actions, whatever he or she is going through, and with that clarity, none of the present actions in the pursuit of arthakama is to be taken by them as goal in themselves. When we fix any of our worldly pursuit as our goal, then the desire aspect crops in. And then our desire and our desire-filled action influences the outcome of our efforts. And mostly the result is misfortune. We may have the following pursuits, some or all of them, or even more than some of them, additional to whatever is being listed. As householders, we have to pursue for saving for family, pursue healthcare, pursue performance at work, taking care of elders in family, better education for children, planning for good quality life after retirement, and so on. If we can visualize that all the above pursuits and all other dharmas, depending upon the ashrama in which we are, if all of them are pursued just as dharma or duty without desiring for any particular outcome, then how his actions would be performed with no desired outcome. Such actions, as Ashtavakra says, won't be tainted, because they get tainted only when the desire aspect comes up. Desire brings in selfishness. As we learnt in an earlier verse, then with that selfishness, artha is pursued mischievously. We have also to be sure that whatever we suffer or enjoy, even how we are going to die and where we are going to be reborn, all are based on our accumulated karmas out of our past action. With this clarity and with actions performed as dharma without any desire, without any expected outcome, then all such actions are in fact inaction in action. That is, actions undertaken without desire or attachment. The Acharya's commentary, this idea of actionless inaction is the doctrine of the Bhagavad Gita, which Ashtavakra accepts and quotes as it is. The Bhagavad Gita, one of the verses say, "He who is devoted to the path of action, whose mind is quite pure, who has conquered the ego, who has subdued his senses, who realizes his self as the self in all beings, he, though acting, is never tainted." He remains, unquote, he remains untainted, pure, spotless, even while engaging intensely in actions in such selfless, desireless spirit. His goal is only goal is God realization. Inward, internal goal. He is at peace, unperturbed by outcome of any of his action. Chinmaya ends his commentary with these lines. For one who is reveling in Brahman, actions are spontaneous expression of the divine in the world of beings. He acts not. He is acted through by the universal law. Next verse. Chintaya jayate dukkham. He who has understood with certitude that it is anxiety and nothing else that brings sorrow in the world becomes free from it and is happy and peaceful everywhere, with his desires melted away. Kama is expectation for the desires to be fulfilled. And with this expectation for desire fulfillment, one is always anxious. And suppose even when the results are as expected, though he gets a momentary happiness, but again it leaves him with anxiety that such expected result should continue to happen to him. So the anxiety never leaves him. And this continued anxiety results only in sorrow, says Ashtavakra. This verse is linked with the first verse onwards in the chapter. In each of the verses in this chapter, a reality is projected through the state of mind of a liberated seer, and each of the verse provides intellectually convincing reality, calling for one to renounce his desire upon knowing the reality given in each verse. The chapter started with the teaching, God is the only reality, exists as that changeless reality. Renounce anything other than God. Renounce desires and exist at peace. Then we are taught whatever fortune, misfortune, joy, sorrow, birth, death, everything is due to our past actions. Thus, don't have desires and undertake newer actions to build more karmas to suffer in future. With this background, if your ashrama requires that you must perform action, then the next verse taught, practice inaction in action. Take up action without desires and remain untainted. And in this verse, it is a warning. Even after being explained so clearly in all the previous verses, still if you perform action with desires, then you will fall into the trap of anxiety. Realizing this, stay away from desires and be happy, be peaceful. After the desires have melted away. What a beautiful expression to end this verse. The desires cannot vanish. The desires cannot be uprooted, as they are built with our several births of accumulated sanskara, vasana. The desires can only be melted away in the heat of your conviction that only God is, only self is. The focus on God or self is the heat or fire which melts the desires without even your deliberate efforts to kill them, to avoid them, to end them. Hari Om, that's it.